My name is Victoria. The hospital room was filled with an icy silence, broken only by the soft beeping of my newborn son's pulse monitor. 3 days after my husband, a courageous firefighter, lost his life rushing back into a burning warehouse, my parents walked in. My precious little one, just 4 pounds and still relying on oxygen, lay peacefully in the bassinet beside me. My father, a cold and calculating insurance broker, glared at us and said in a chilling voice, "You're being discharged. Take that child and go back to his family. Widows are no longer our concern." My mother, a passive follower who always danced to my father's tune, nodded and added, "We've done more than enough for you. Don't bring your bad luck upon us." I held my son tighter, my heart breaking into a million pieces. Little did they know that an hour ago, I had made a crucial phone call. And they definitely had no idea that the man about to enter the room, flanked by 2 uniformed officers, would make my father's hands tremble so violently that he'd drop the discharge papers. Before I delve into what happened next, let me take you back a few years to understand how I got here. My husband, Ryan, was a 32-year-old firefighter at Seattle Fire Department Station 12. He had served there for 8 years, a true hero in every sense. His father, Captain George, had been a stalwart of the department for 35 years. He passed away from a heart attack in 2020, just a year after his retirement. Ryan was 26 at the time, and he decided to join the fire academy 6 months later, saying he wanted to fill his father's big shoes. The one who guided Ryan through his early days as a firefighter was Chief Sam. Chief Sam had been Captain George's partner for 20 years and was Ryan's godfather. When Captain George died, Chief Sam took on the role of a mentor and a father figure to Ryan. At our wedding, Chief Sam gave the father of the groom speech, filling the air with warmth and love. I met Ryan at Seattle General Hospital, where I work as a midwife. It was a fateful day in September 2022. A young girl was brought in with severe burns from a house fire. Ryan was the paramedic on the ambulance. He stayed by her side, holding her hand, until I took over. 3 days later, he came back to check on her and, of course, on me. He remembered my name and my shift. He brought me a box of chocolates and a shy smile. We dated for 10 months before he introduced me to his family. Ryan's mother, Martha, was a kind-hearted and warm-spirited woman. She welcomed me with open arms and a big hug at their family dinner in Tacoma. Chief Sam was also there. He looked at me and said, "You're the one who can keep this young man on track. He's lucky to have you." Our wedding in June 2023 was a beautiful affair, but my parents were not happy. They complained about the cost, saying it was too much for a firefighter's wedding. They also murmured about the groom's side taking up most of the church. At the rehearsal dinner, my father pulled me aside and warned, "Those firefighters and their families are a tight-knit group. Don't lose yourself in them." I just nodded, not understanding what he meant at the time. In April 2025, I told my parents I was pregnant. My mother gave me a quick hug, and my father simply said, "A firefighter's kid. That's good." He didn't ask about the due date or the baby's gender. I drove home in tears, feeling so alone. Ryan noticed my sadness and hugged me tight, promising to be there for me and our child. He also told Chief Sam about the pregnancy that week. When he came back, his jaw was set, and he said he had some paperwork to sort out. The last morning of Ryan's life was a gloomy Friday in February 2026. I was 36 weeks pregnant and on maternity leave. Ryan made me breakfast, kissed my belly, and said, "I love you. I'll be home by 6. I watched him leave, not knowing it would be the last time I'd see him alive. At 2 p.m., Chief Sam showed up at my door in his fire department uniform. I knew before he even spoke. He told me about the warehouse fire, how Ryan had saved 2 workers but gone back for a third that wasn't there. The building collapsed, and he was gone. I was in shock, but I felt our baby moving inside me. Chief Sam stayed with me for hours, holding my hand in silence. He then went into the kitchen to make calls. He called the department, the hospital, and Ryan's mother. Martha was already booking a flight to Seattle. Chief Sam assured me he'd be with me at the hospital when I gave birth. At 4 p.m. I called my parents. My mother answered, and all she said was, "Oh, my God." She didn't ask where I was or if I needed her. Then she put my father on the phone. He said, "I'm glad you have Chief Sam there. We'll be there when we can, but there's paperwork to handle first." And he hung up. That evening, as I was holding one of Ryan's shirts that still smelled like him, my water broke. I called Chief Sam right away. He was there in minutes and drove behind the ambulance to the hospital. My parents didn't come. I gave birth to our son, Ryan Jr. at 2:30 a.m. He was 4 pounds 4 ounces, premature but a fighter. The nurses rushed him to the NICU. Chief Sam stayed outside the NICU all night. My parents didn't call or visit in the first 24 hours. But Martha arrived the next day, full of love and support. She brought me clothes and a teddy bear for the baby. The following day, Ryan Jr. was stable enough for me to do skin-to-skin contact. It was the most beautiful moment, but also bittersweet, knowing Ryan wasn't there to share it. In the evening, my mother finally texted me, saying, "Hope you're resting. Dad and I are dealing with some things. Don't worry about the paperwork." I knew they meant business, but I kept my cool and took a screenshot of the message. On the third day after Ryan's death, my parents walked into my hospital room. My father was carrying a folder and a stack of discharge papers. He sat down and opened the folder. I saw the title of the form on top, Life Insurance Beneficiary Change Request. My signature was already on it, but I knew I hadn't signed it. My father then said, "You're being discharged. Take that child and go back to his family. We're not responsible for widows." I held my son closer and said, "Okay." I asked to be alone with my son for a minute, and as soon as the door closed, I texted Chief Sam, "They're here with forged papers." Dad called Ryan Jr. a bastard. "Please come quickly." While I waited for Chief Sam, I carefully examined the forged signature. It was clearly different from my own. I also remembered all the strange questions my father had asked in the past. Like in December 2025, he casually asked me if Ryan had updated his life insurance for the baby. And at Christmas, he asked Ryan directly about his will. Just then, Chief Sam entered the room, dressed in his full-fledged chief's uniform, followed by 2 officers. My father's hands started shaking uncontrollably, and the discharge papers fell to the floor. Chief Sam sat down and said, "I need you to explain these papers, Mr. Johnson. Victoria's phone will be recording this." He then took out a timeline from an envelope. It showed that the PSO claim for Ryan was filed in my name while I was still under anesthesia after giving birth. There was no way I could have signed it. The officers also presented evidence of an email where my father was discussing using Ryan's insurance money to pay off my brother's gambling debts. After that revelation, my world seemed to stop for a moment. My son, Ryan Jr. gave a soft coo, oblivious to the chaos around him. The weight of the situation, the betrayal of my parents, and the injustice of it all hit me like a ton of bricks. But in the midst of this turmoil, I felt a newfound sense of strength. Chief Sam then took out Ryan's old iPhone. He had my permission to play a voice memo. Ryan's calm voice filled the room. "Victoria, if you're listening to this, something bad has happened. Chief Sam has everything sorted out. Don't let your dad convince you to sign anything. I love you and our son." Hearing Ryan's voice again after these long, painful days was like a breath of fresh air. It was as if he was there with me, protecting me and our son from this storm. I looked over at my parents. My mother was silent, tears streaming down her face. My father, on the other hand, sat there, his expression a mix of shock and guilt. The officer explained that forging the PSO claim was a federal offense and that the evidence would be handed over to the FBI. My father's face went pale as he realized the gravity of his actions. He stammered, trying to come up with excuses, but it was too late. I turned to my parents and said, with a calm but firm voice, "You told me to go back to his family. And that's exactly what I'm going to do." At that moment, Martha entered the room. She had driven straight from Tacoma to be with us. She looked at me and Ryan Jr. with so much love in her eyes and asked, "Can I hold my grandson?" I gently placed Ryan Jr. in her arms, and as she cradled him, I knew I had made the right choice. Family isn't just about blood, it's about who stands by you when the world falls apart. Ryan's family, Chief Sam and Martha, had been there for me in my darkest hour, while my own parents had tried to take advantage of my grief. In the following weeks, the FBI opened an investigation into my father's actions. 2 agents visited Martha's house. They asked me questions and assured me that I was a witness, not a suspect. They told me that the case would be based on the forged documents, the timeline, the email, and Ryan's voice memo, and that the potential penalty for wire fraud and false statements to a federal agency was severe. Ryan Jr. continued to grow stronger. He came off the nasal cannula at the end of February and reached 5 pounds by the middle of March. He was finally ready to leave the hospital, and we drove to Martha's house in Tacoma. At Martha's, I found a new home. She turned the spare room into a beautiful nursery for Ryan Jr. Chief Sam came to visit every weekend. He would bring toys for Ryan Jr. and tell me stories about Ryan when he was a kid. I learned that Ryan used to hide in the fire truck when he was 7 and that Captain George would pretend not to know where he was for hours, just to make Ryan laugh. My brother filed for bankruptcy, and I heard that my mother moved into a small apartment by herself. I never heard from my father again. I received some letters from my mother, but I didn't open them. I knew that some bridges were better left burned. Now, as I sit on the porch swing at Martha's house, holding Ryan Jr. in my arms, I watch the sunset. I think about Ryan and how he would have been so proud of his son. And I'm grateful for the family that has shown up for me, the family that loves unconditionally. Love isn't a responsibility, it's a choice. And I've chosen the family that truly matters.